9-inch rib runner? What is a 9-inch rib runner? Let's find out. So this is a patented tool, not a patent pending. They actually have a patent on this tool, and it's a small company in the USA, so this was designed in the USA. I don't believe it's made in the USA, but it's a very cool accessory, cool tool, and anybody that does metal buildings probably spots exactly what this is. So this is made to go on your 9-inch metal, steel, galvanized panels and lay on there and be able to give you a square reference to be able to draw lines, make cuts, because straighter lines make straighter cuts, as well as, look at these little spring-loaded dimples here, and they're nice and pointed on the back side. So line this thing up, hit it with the hammer a few times, and you got your dimples for your screws. You can pre-drill them, or you can just leave the dimples and then drill right through them once they're up on the building. So you can hit all your purlins, or maybe even you're hanging on the ceiling and hitting the ceiling joists every 16 inches, every 24 inches, or whatever they are. Well, this is how we received the rib runner tool. So you've probably already seen this in our intro put together, but this is how it comes. And looks like a pretty simple instruction sheet there. Maybe a decal for your cup, for your car, maybe for the tool. Pretty solid packaging. Aluminum frame. Feels like a pretty stiff but flexible type of foam rubber, maybe some type of polyurethane. Again, feels like a good texture or a good solid surface on it that doesn't collapse, but at the same time very soft and not very soft, but is soft and is not going to scar anything. Pretty solid looking unit there. And then this looks like the crossbar. You can see we have measurements on both sides of the, I don't know if you call that the ledger square or basically the cross point, if you will. But have numbers to the left, numbers to the right. They carry on, and they start from left to right and right to left. And same thing with the ruler here. Start from the top down as well as from the bottom up as well. So I like that. I like seeing that versatility there. I've been able to see that, and looks like about a little over 37 inches. That's most of your metal panels are going to fall in that area. Now, also right here on the end, so where this actually attaches, nice countersunk holes there. That's going to help not only look nice and be nice and flush, it's also going to help center that screw or center those screws so that we do have a nice solid attachment and not much wobble room for mistake, if you will. A couple of packages here. These are the punches that are actually spring loaded, as you can see here. I think when you strike these, yeah, see how they push out and then return. There's a little clip right there, so internal spring. And they are going to go, these four here are going to go on the main rule. And then these screws right here, the countersunk screws, which, by the way, they recommend you to put blue Loctite on these. We're not going to do that yet. And then the holes here are threaded in this section right here. I'm just curious. Okay, so it looks like they're using stainless screws. I like that. They're definitely not aluminum, but they're not attracted by the magnet here. So should not rust, should last a long time. Like to see that. Get one of these started, and then we'll get the rest of them in. I'm just curious here. I'm going to get all these not tight, but pretty snug down there in their kind of concave tapered, if you will, and see how much deflection we have on here. Again, not going to tighten it. I'm just going to literally just get it snug. 2 fingers here, and then see how much deflection we have here that can kind of get out of square. That's impressive. It really, it's flexing here on the end, but it's really not moving right here at the base as I'm trying to move it. As you can see there, I can really lay on it and get it to move a little bit. Let's see here. Yeah, now staying nice and solid. Again, I can get it to flex out here on the end, which is kind of self-explanatory or kind of understood. But as far as staying sturdy right here, now let's check it with a square. Now this is really not crazy critical when all you're trying to do is typically hit a purlin or hit a you know, a 4-inch 2x or 1x on the roof, or even plywood, something like that. But we do want to have nice parallel straight lines, and we want to make sure we're as square as possible. So I'll take, looks like we can tune on that a little bit. So let's loosen this. So now about 5 seconds of work, 30 seconds of work. Now we're pretty much dead square on that. So just sticking the screws in there, you're going to be close, and probably close enough for most. But in this case, again, I spent 30 seconds, got it good and straight with our square, then tighten the screws down. And again, if you're using some Loctite, as they recommend, that should be able to keep that there for a long time. Now these, very easy to install. The rectangle is going to go on the bottom. The washer is going to go on the top. And of course the pointed end is going to go down. So like that. And then this insert is going to go inside there. There we go. And you see the pin does not protrude beyond that foam. So it's not going to go down below that and scratch the surface. It's not going to touch until you actually press it. And you see the adjustability here, where you can adjust of where you want that pin to be. So depending on your panels, depending on the ribs and where you want this placed among the ribs, is where you can set that. By the way, this would have been much easier if I would have put these in first. And there we have it. We've got all 4 of our punches in there. Let's get those tightened up. Look to be 3/4. Yep, they're 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to put this, put it at 8 and 17, 26, and 35. So the rib runner is going to work on the 9-inch rib panels, and you can see that the form mimics the sheeting almost exact, and it lays right into place. Now, these panels here have been warped a little bit. These have actually been around for like 10 years. We actually had to clean them up. But anyway, if it was nice and flat, then this would lay flat on it, but I have to push it down a little because of some of the memory in the metal here. But again, the matching of the form and the metal is near exact on here. So this gives you the ability to either, with a pencil or with a marker, be able to draw these flats and not just the ribs. And straighter lines mean straighter cuts. So when you need to make the cuts, it's going to be easy to do so. As well as when you need to make your dimples for your screws, going to line those up. And now we have our dimples that we can now drill for all of our different screws. And that's going to ensure that we have a nice straight line on all of our screws once they're up on the building, either on the roof, on the walls, or even we're seeing these more and more used in ceilings as well. Now, a couple of things here. You can see here on the crossbar here, where it's riding, the size is built to basically sit kind of right here in the crease of the stamp in the metal. Now, is that exact? Not absolutely exactly. Is it good enough? Well, that really depends on the job that you're doing. For the most part, probably, because once it's sitting here flush and the form is there on the metal and you have your square tuned nice and square, then we've got a little bit of deflection that you can create without it feeling wonky. But really and truly, it doesn't move much till you can kind of tell that this is either grabbing on one end or the other, or the actual form is kind of not lining up well. So if you just line it up, push it down, let's see how much deflection we'll actually have. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take my ruler and I'm just going to mark at 60 inches. I'm going to mark it 60 inches there. And I'm just going to use the square and I'm going to line it up on my mark over here. I have a nice viewing window, a big circle right here. And I'm going to lay what feels to be comfortable and where the square just kind of likes to lay. And you're already seeing it. I'm almost dead on. It looks like I could probably go a touch that way and be dead on with the mark. So I would say I was off a 32nd of an inch, maybe a 16th of an inch, just laying the square down, letting it find center on its own, which I think is probably definitely acceptable in looking down a row of screws and not seeing them out of sync, if you will. At the same time, if you want to be perfect, you see you have a nice window right here, so you can put a mark on this side and a mark on that side. If it's not that big of an issue for you, you can just line it up on the viewing window down there and go ahead and make your marks, make your dimples and your cuts, whatever you need to do. And you can see the nice viewing window we have right here. This big circle looks like about a 3/4 inch or 1 inch circle that we can see. We've got our hash mark right there that shows us dead center, so we can line up on our mark. Okay, now that we have our mark lined up and we think we're square, I'm going to put a mark here, and I'll do it on both sides here. It tells us kind of the center line or the outside edge of the center line, and then I'm going to just kind of try to deflect this square till it feels almost uncomfortable, where I know it's kind of out of, where it doesn't feel like it's actually down. So again, there's center, and if I laid it down and twisted about that much, so looks like to the left, I knew I was kind of getting out of center. That looks probably be about a 16th. This is more of an 8th. So just by throwing the square down again, I can find within an 1/8, but can we deflect it one way or the other? Yes, but you literally start feeling it either grabbing or just kind of feeling uncomfortable knowing that you're not square. I would say again that that's still pretty good and within a window of being able to get some really good results. Because you still have the option, if you want to line these up to ensure that you're dead on, you can definitely do so. But if you're wanting to just throw it down, make your mark, make your dimple, then you're good. Now I know what your next question is going to be. Will the dimples go through one sheet? Well, I don't really think it matters, but let's test it out because I know you think it matters. And we'll see if this transferred underneath. I probably should have moved it because I might have hit our white part. I can't remember if I'd already dimpled that. So let's move this down a bit to where we know we have no dimples. Okay, you agree? No dimples here, no dimples here. Again, we'll throw it up. It feels comfortable. And then, yes, so it transferred. There's our second dimple right there. There's the first sheet. So these dimples definitely transfer through a couple of sheets. Now, I don't think that we're going to go through multiple sheets, but the idea with hitting these dimples is that if you've got a stack of 5 or 10 or 15 that you're doing all the same pieces of siding or roofing, whatever, is that leave that stack of 10, come back with your drill, and now drill those out, and now the holes are there and ready for your drill tip screws or for your wood screws if we're going into wood. So here's the big question you're asking. How much is it? It's $300 for the tool. Now, some of you are probably gasping and say, well, I can just use a regular square. I don't even need a square. I just, measure out and go to town and I can run the screws myself and they're all going to be straight and yada, yada, yada. I get it. Some of you are perfect. You're Jesus Jr. and you can do all this stuff on your own. Do I think there's a fit for this? Absolutely. Because what we're seeing, the trend in the, whether you call them metal buildings, whether you call them pole barns, whatever, we're starting to see these things much beyond just a place to store your tractor. We're seeing people build houses out of them. We're seeing highly, highly detailed aesthetics being done on these. R&R Buildings is one of them. Kyle makes some awesome pole barns and barn doors and everything else out of metal buildings. And so what I'm talking about is these aesthetics, these people that are paying big money for these things, they want those straight line screws. They want all their angles to be near perfect so it looks really good. So just throwing it up and running the screw down them and not caring whether they're, a half inch out of sync or not, just really doesn't cut it anymore. Especially, like I said, when they're on ceilings, when they're on walls, and when they're on places where you can actually see them with the eye, not just, on the roof where you can't really see up there. So I think it's more and more important to, again, be able to get those details near perfect. And I think this is definitely going to help you do that. Is it near perfect to just throw it up there and let it, lean on this and go to town? No. Is it close enough? I think so in most circumstances. And like I said, we have a large viewing window here, a large viewing window right here as well. So you can make your 2 marks, ensure that they're straight, and then they're good. And then you can make your markings, you can make your cuts, or whatever else that you need to do with it. So check it out. We'll have a link in the description. Also keep track of us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and even TikTok. And if you don't mind, hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't done so already. And by all means, if you hate our video, well, give us a thumbs down. But let us know in the comments why. Have a great day. Keep smiling.